House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is holding a news conference after 8 Democrats in the Senate voted with Republicans on a deal to end the government shutdown. Let's listen.
Class Americans, middle-class Americans, and everyday Americans to be able to go see a doctor when they need one. And so House Democrats and Senate Democrats have been fighting hard to address the Republican health care crisis and to lower the high cost of living for everyday Americans in the United States of America. Because the reality is, America is too expensive. And far too many people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. They can't thrive, they can barely survive. And that's why Democrats have been waging this fight. And we'll continue to wage this fight. No matter what comes over to us from the United States Senate to the House of Representatives at some point this week. Our position as House Democrats has been crystal clear. We will sit down with any Republicans, anytime, any place, anywhere, in order to find a bipartisan path forward, but we're not down with their my way or the highway approach to governance. That's failed the American people. It's been a disaster for the American people, and the American people know it, which is why last Tuesday, Republicans all across the country got wiped out. One of the most decisive off-year elections ever in modern American history. And so as House Democrats, we know we're on the right side of this fight, the right side of the American people. And we're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. And we're going to continue the fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And if it doesn't happen this week, this month, next month, then it's the fault of Donald Trump, House and Senate Republicans, who continue to make life more expensive for the American people. Questions?
Mr. Leader, some Democrats in your own caucus are suggesting Schumer is ineffective as Senate Democratic leader and should be replaced. You, of course, are critical of this deal. Do you view him as effective, and should he keep the job?
Yes and yes.
George Stephanopoulos, do you trust, in this deal, there is language for President Trump and the Trump administration to reverse some of the firings that happened during the shutdown? Do you trust that?
We've just been watching House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on Capitol Hill. They're criticizing Republicans' refusal to fund Obamacare subsidies. He says Democrats will keep fighting to keep health care affordable. But of course, right now, Democrats, at least enough of them, 8, are siding with Republicans in order to reopen the government. Jay O'Brien's on Capitol Hill following all the latest there. Jay, it's interesting to hear you have Hakeem Jeffries calling this the Republican health care crisis. Earlier, we heard House Speaker Mike Johnson blaming Democrats for this, calling it the Unaffordable Care Act. They're really trying to position themselves in terms of who's to blame for this health care crisis, in addition to what to do about it.
But also, this is Hakeem Jeffries, Diane, acknowledging he doesn't like this deal that his own Democratic colleagues in the Senate, some of them struck. 8 Senate Democrats reached this deal. This deal was enough for them to join with the bulk of Senate Republicans and vote to put us on a path to ending this shutdown. Obviously, they still have to get final passage. Hakeem Jeffries said last night he doesn't like this deal because it is nowhere near close to what Senate Democrats had been asking for. First, they wanted to make these Obamacare tax credits permanent. Then Chuck Schumer came out late last week and said that they would be willing to talk about only extending those tax credits for a year. And then these 8 Senate Democrats agreed to last night just getting guaranteed a vote on the tax credits, a vote that is likely to fail. And if it gets out of the Senate, it's probably not even going to get a vote in the House of Representatives. So what Hakeem Jeffries is saying there is that he has extreme issue with this deal that Senate Democrats, some of them, struck with Republicans. And he said, quote, that they're going to continue to fight for health care to the point you made, quote, no matter what comes over to us from the Senate. This is an animated Hakeem Jeffries who obviously takes serious issue with the way that this fight is winding down in the Senate right now. Now, he and we expect the bulk of Senate or House Democrats will ultimately vote against this deal when it finally makes its way over to the House. We're tracking a vote possibly on Wednesday. Maybe it could slip to Thursday. But to the point you made earlier, if House Speaker Mike Johnson holds his coalition together, Republicans won't need Democratic votes to approve this funding plan and end this shutdown.
Jay, the fact that Democrats are making this concession now, does that put more pressure on Republicans when this vote does come up in December?
On the ACA vote, not really, is the honest answer. We've heard from Republicans who say they take serious issue with Obamacare in general, that they don't want any legislation to reach the floor of the House, in the thoughts of Speaker Johnson and others. And in the Senate, they don't want to take up this issue at all that deals with Obamacare in the way that House Democrats and Senate Democrats have pushed for, this notion of extending these tax credits without doing anything else, and preventing, by the way, with the extension of these tax credits, premiums from skyrocketing for some 20 million Americans who get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act. But we've heard Republicans in lockstep say they have serious ideological disagreements with the Affordable Care Act, often called Obamacare. They are not going to vote for any legislation that looks anything like, they say, what Democrats are demanding and what will likely be put on the floor in the Senate in December.
Jay O'Brien, thank you.